Where do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? All right, all of my beautiful, powerful women, today let's think about where do we want to be in the next 5 to 10 years. I know 2020 has really taken us for a loop. None of us expected 2020 to unfold as it has, and many of us have had to abandon ship. Reality is that's life. When the weather changes outside, you just have to adapt to it. And right now, many of us need to adapt and reassess where we want to be if we're going to really take everything that has occurred in 2020 and stride forward. And so for this video, we're really going to rethink some stuff. So I know as children, one of the first questions that many adults will ask us is, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I'm not going to ask you, what do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? I'm going to ask you, how do you want to live? And this is a very different question fundamentally than what do you want to be? When you're asking children what they want to be, you're not really taking into account how they want to live and who they want to be. For example, let's say that you have ambitions of owning a lot of wealth, but you say as a child, you want to be a teacher. In theory, perhaps you can be a multimillionaire and teacher, but in reality, there aren't that many teachers who are working in public school systems that are multimillionaires. In fact, many public school teachers are constantly on strike for better wages, especially if you're in Chicago. CPS is always on strike for better wages and for among many other things, and that's completely separate, but that's something we have to think about, right? So let's say you want to be a doctor. It's plausible that you can be a doctor and be a multimillionaire, but let's say you really want time in your life. Well, many doctors work long hours. They're working 12-hour shifts, right? Especially if they're on call. Someone says, hey, you've got to come in, and the doctor has to come in. So perhaps wanting to be a doctor is not going to give you the time that you want in life. And there's nothing wrong with being a teacher, and there's nothing wrong with being a doctor. Shoot, society needs them, and frankly, they're one of the most selfless positions to have. But oftentimes when we think about our vision, we just think about what we want instead of how we want to live. And so for this, the first step is, when you think about where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, think about how do you want to live. Do you see yourself having time freedom, financial freedom? Do you see yourself being able to live in another country for 5 months because, one, you can financially afford it, and two, you have the time freedom to do that? There definitely are people in the world who have those assets who can do that, right? Let's say maybe how you want to live is you want to be a doting mother and a doting wife, right? So that's very different than what. The how, I think, is essentially even more important. How do you want to be? Are you someone that is, you want to be kind and open and fun-loving, right? I know, for instance, when I was a crisis counselor, I had no emotional energy outside of my job. So my emotional capacity was packed and at its limit because everything that I was doing, I was working 12-hour shifts. Like, all of my time and all of my energy was going into just my job, and everyone else in my life, my partner, he and everyone else were getting the leftover version of Janita. And honestly, that's not how I wanted to live. It's something that I thought I wanted to do because I wanted to serve and give myself to others and help other people have a great life. And crisis counseling in a lot of ways was fulfilling. Therapy, when I was doing that for a little bit, was fulfilling. But it actually wasn't how I wanted to live. So again, the first step is for you to think about, how do you want to live? How do you want to live in the next 5 to 10 years? And you want to be really specific about that. The next tip from that will be identify inferior motives. Inferior motives actually can still rob us from accomplishing our vision. And by that, what I mean is, an inferior motive could be, let's say maybe you were bullied and you just want to show up the other people who bullied you, and there's nothing wrong, I guess, with that. There are a lot of people who are motivated by just showing up other people and can accomplish great things with just that being a motive. However, that robs you from the full expression of your vision. And the reason why it robs you is because if you're so focused on showing up all the people who didn't support you, who said you weren't going to be anybody, then you have less mental energy to focus on how you want to live and what you want to do. Because a lot of your energy is like, oh, I need to be at town square at 2 o'clock because Billy from high school who bullied me is going to be there and I'm about to show him who's boss. Or switch Billy with Sarah or Susan or Karen or whoever you want to. Those are inferior motives. And they actually delay you from the gratification of your ultimate vision. The next point will be refuse to be limited by your current conditions. And by that, let's say you have a vision of yourself to have a family, but maybe you're not in a relationship right now. You can't limit yourself from that vision because your current conditions are that you are not able to, you're not in a relationship. So what you want to do is, okay, well, right now many of us are still quarantined. A lot of us are not, and we're able to be out in society, but we're not very comfortable yet. Maybe try online dating, doing virtual dates, something that's going to push you forward to getting that vision of in 5 to 10 years, you want to be married and you want to have a family. But if you allow your current conditions of being single and not being in a relationship to prevent you from even going out, then you're not probably going to manifest that ultimate goal. So you can switch that out with something else, but be very aware of what your current conditions are and realize that they're going to change. You know, you're going to expand out of that phase, you know, whether you realize it or not. Your circumstances always change. Our conditions always change. They either get better, they seem to stay the same, but they haven't because you've aged, so they haven't stayed the same. They might just appear to, or they get worse. So refuse to say that your current circumstances are ultimately what's going to happen in your life, because the next 5 to 10 years could be your best years, especially if you start to really think about how you want to live, what your vision is, and making a plan. And lastly, feel your vision, right? So if you want to be in a relationship, make sure you're watching TV shows or listening to audios about healthy relationships so you can manifest that. If you want to be financially independent, make sure you're surrounding yourself with individuals who can teach you how to be financially independent. If you want to change careers, fill your dreams with people who've changed careers. I think also two activities to help you start thinking about how you want to live and how you can manifest your vision really is journaling, specifically scripting. I like to script. When you script, you write in the future as if you've already experienced it. And it's really fun because for me, it helps me be grateful. So I get to imagine where I am in the next 10 to 5 years and be like, wow, God, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I had this experience. And what happens is I'm actually physically generating those emotions of what it would feel like to be in that position as if I've already have it. So I'm helping myself to learn how to receive the ultimate vision that I have for myself. So scripting is one of my favorite activities of doing that. Another activity that I enjoy doing is a vision board. Now I don't do a vision board as often or rarely, to be honest, as I do with scripting. I think for me, scripting is it's more accessible because, it's just a notebook and I have a notebook. Whereas vision boards, you tend to have to get the board and then get the crafts and things like that. But I've known a lot of individuals who've done vision boards and their goals have manifest. And again, the vision boards really kind of tell you what you want, whereas I think for the scripting, it kind of helps me go into the more of the how I want to live, who I want to be, and really scripting out that part of my personality of how and who. So I definitely prefer the scripting over the vision board, but vision boards are still really good. It's mostly just about you being in touch with where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years and having a clear vision and then believing in it, right? Faith is believing that it's going to occur. And I truly believe that God doesn't place anything in our hearts and our minds consistently that we're not meant to manifest. Otherwise, why would we consistently have that deep desire for more in our lives if we weren't meant to achieve more? So I just wanted to share that with you all, and I hope everyone's week is going well. Mine has been pretty well itself, and so let me know in the comments below where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years.